Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida IFAS Extension Service here in Hernando County, and I'm here with my regular co-host Lily Browning. And I just flew into the office. Well, didn't fly in, just ran into the office seconds ago, just in time for this. So it's a busy day with people popping in, questions, preparing for the holidays, and everything else, I guess. So
I
how you doing,
expected
Lily?
good. I expected to come in because I came in at like 9:58, and I
Oh, I was
expected
going to say
to be here.
I figured that you'd be here early, but I guess you weren't either.
No, I turned it on when I was still putting my lipstick on, and was couldn't believe you weren't here. And then I was like, do I just start without him? How do I do? I mean, am I a host? How do I handle this? Will it let me? And then with 17 seconds to spare, you showed up.
Well, I have volunteers here. I was talking with one about irrigation at one of our favorite neighborhoods. So there's always something happening in the lawn and garden to talk about, whether it be irrigation, whether it be cold weather coming. Although I haven't gotten any calls about cold weather yet. I
I
will.
think we're in a warm up phase at the moment, but we
We're in
had
a
it a
beautiful
little
phase
cool.
right now.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it got a little cool, got down to 34 here in Hernando. But you know how Florida winters are, 3 days of winter, then you get a break. In another week or two, you have another 3 days of winter, then you get a break. So,
Yeah, it wasn't that cold this morning. Tuesday, I actually had ice on the front windshield a little bit.
me too. A little, not like heavy ice, but yeah, I had to. It's one of those times you need to remind yourself you need to make extra time to sit there for it to go away, or put the car on before you get in it, or something like that. And I often think, people up north, we get so used to just hopping in the car and going. And if you're up north, it's part of your routine to warm the car up to get it ready, or you're not going anywhere.
And
So,
sweep the snow off the windshield and off the top. Shovel if you have to shovel your way out of where your car is parked.
yep. And
Run
they
the
want you, and I learned,
defroster for 45 minutes to melt everything. And
yeah, and they want you to get the big piles of snow off your hood and off your roof because apparently it's illegal to drive with it on there because it could just slide off onto somebody else and cause an issue. So,
yeah, when I was a kid growing up in Maryland, it wasn't illegal. It happens.
uh, I believe I was told in Virginia it's illegal. I'm not sure about Pennsylvania. So,
They don't get a whole lot of snow in Virginia. They get more ice, those nasty ice storms, and they're scary.
well, my son lives on the coast. He lives, Hampton, Norfolk, Williamsburg, those areas. They get about one good snow, maybe a foot or so a year, maybe two, but it's gone. It melts within a few days.
Hmm.
Whereas then you venture through the mountains to where I have a whole lot of other family in the Alleghenies, outside of Pittsburgh. Yeah, that snow could be there from December till April. So it's a lot different there.
Yeah, not here.
A lot
Here it's much
colder
nicer.
there. I tried to point that out to my son that his family in Western Pennsylvania has it a lot colder than he does in coastal Virginia. But since he's in the Army and gets up at 5 every morning to run, he tells me he does not care how much colder it is in Pennsylvania because they don't get up at 5 in the morning to run along the James River. So,
Well, it can be pretty cold here some mornings at 5 a.m. Not that I don't get up quite that early, but yeah, some days when I first get up, it's pretty cold out there.
yeah,
And see,
so
Cindy says that it's illegal to have a ton of snow on your car in New Jersey, and I think Pennsylvania, you must remove snow from roof of vehicles. So,
well, in New Jersey, you got to turn right to turn left. So, I mean, it's just there are a few places in Pennsylvania where you have to do that too.
So if anybody has any more local lawn and garden kind of questions, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and do our very best to answer them. One thing that I answered the other day, and I answered it twice. Now, I'm not sure if it was the same person, because somebody called on the phone with a question about camphor trees. And then later on in the day, somebody came in the front door asking the same question about camphor trees. I'm not sure if it was the same person or not. And they were hoping that if they came in person, they get the answer they wanted, not the answer that's actually accurate.
They wanted to be able to
real.
keep their camphor tree, in other words, is what you're saying.
Yes, they have a very large camphor tree in their yard, and she has problems with lots of twigs coming off of it and berries. And I told her what I tell everybody: camphor trees are invasive. We don't recommend growing them. They can be messy. They can be twiggy on and off during the year. There is no specific season for that. And they do form little berries that birds eat and then poop out and deposit far and wide, and then new little trees pop up. And that's only for a short time. I mean, the berries are only there for just a time before they all fall off on your driveway, on your car, and on your roof. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast. I'm not sure what she was hoping for. Maybe
Well, it is
she wanted me to tell her to water it or fertilize it, and it would all be just fine. But they're twiggy trees.
They're expensive to remove, So if you had one, you didn't put it there, it was there when you bought the house. They make lovely looking big trees. It could look like an oak tree, but grow a lot faster. And there's a hint in that, what I just said. We want instant gratification, but usually fast growing means weak. Therefore, they break a lot. And you'll have all those twigs, and it could come down in a storm. Plus, Corey really dislikes them. Yes. The nature of all invasive plants. I discussed this very lightly in yesterday's class. Buddy was there. I call them seductive invasive plants, because there are certain few that, we love them so much. And even though it's a toxic relationship, we'll fight for them and we'll defend them. And we'll say, oh, we keep them under control. And the fact is, you don't control the birds. You don't control the wind. And everyone who has a camphor tree absolutely knows they're mowing over baby camphor trees all the time. And it's not limited to your yard. And the problem is, these plants get in natural areas. And they have no checks and balances here, nothing to keep them under control. Therefore, they're able to grow in abundance and outgrow our native plants in these natural areas. And yeah, there are a lot of opportunistic birds who will eat and spread a lot of things, but there are a lot of other native animals that they only rely on the native plants to eat. So you are really just, the whole ecosystem gets messed up. And as well as some of these trees then start to naturalize, and not camphor, but like other types, close in species, will hybridize with some of our natives. And
Yeah, well, and especially camphor trees have a couple other drawbacks for homeowners. Like Corey says here, he has them at his place, and they don't have any planted with it a half mile, and he's seen them a 30-minute hike into the wilderness areas. That's the problem, is birds will take those seeds all over. And I used to live in a neighborhood where there were quite a few camphor trees in other people's yards. And I would always have little baby camphor trees popping up in my flower beds all the time that I had to dig out or pull out. And they almost always get competing leaders. So if you look at a camphor tree, it's almost never one big trunk, it's multiple trunks. And the problem with that is, in a storm, or because of old age, or if it gets some kind of rot in the junction there, any tree with two competing trunks can split and fall. And one part can fall on your house, the other part can fall on your neighbor's driveway, or fall where you don't want it to. So they tend to be not the most stable trees, as like, let's say, a properly maintained magnolia or oak or something like that. And they are twiggy, which
Mhm.
means that they just have lots and lots of little twigs that come raining down throughout the year.
And the
Another
berries
really, really
with the
bad one
birds
is
eating them.
golden rain trees are the twiggiest trees I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh, they'll fill your lawn with junk. Not just leaves, little twigs, little branches you have to clean up. So they're very, very messy.
And you get your
And
bugs.
I can't tell you what to do to make them not messy. That's how they were made. We have nothing to do with that.
There used to be a big one at my dentist, at your dentist, when you
Yes,
would.
I have an appointment at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So
I'm going on Monday.
okay.
As you drive in, you'll see. I mean, it's all open now, but when right at the entry from the road used to be a huge tree that you had to go
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
and that was a camphor tree, and it was hollow. Our friend took it down. Our friend, the master gardener,
Hmm.
who's an arborist, he took it down and he said it was hollow. That could have that could have fallen on the whole building.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was pretty messy in the parking lot too.
Yes. So unfortunately, if you have bought a house or you live in a house that has a very large camphor tree, and now you're tired of the twigginess, you're worried about it. I've seen them with six major large
Hmm.
trunks kind of clustered together. And if you're worried about that, their large trees are very expensive to have taken down. It's a big expense. So the lady, and I'm like I said, I'm not positive if this was the same person or two different people, but the one who came in person said, "Oh, well, I don't like taking down trees."
Hmm.
Oh, so you're an environmentalist now,
Hmm.
starting the Save the Camphor Trees movement, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it is expensive, and that's a real issue.
Yeah, I was thinking that her biggest issue with it was probably the expense. And she
Hmm.
said it was very close to the house too, which just makes it more difficult and
Corey has a
dangerous.
question. Do you see Corey's question about stratification of seeds?
Yes, we're getting to that.
Okay,
We move
sorry.
on to the next topic here. So Corey asked, if you have seeds that benefit from cold stratification, you have them in the fridge, pull them out and plant them outside now. If they sprout, should they be fine with our winter? All depends on what plants they are. If it's a Florida wildflower, you can throw them out there and plant them anytime during the winter. They'll be fine with the weather. If it's something else, like maybe a northern ornamental plant or something, it depends on if it's damaged or killed by freezing weather. So that's not a really accurate answer, but it basically depends on exactly what plant seeds we're talking about. If they're
I would,
wildflower seeds, they generally
you
get
don't need to
planted in the
stratify it,
fall here
but the
in Florida.
native Florida Asimino
But
species.
stratification, there are certain plants that the seeds need a period of really cold temperatures to, you know, start to sprout and grow. And the easiest way to deal with that is just put them in the refrigerator for the appropriate amount of time, and maybe a week or two, it may be 6 weeks. Um, he says native Florida Asimenia species, which
The pawpaw.
is
Pawpaw.
pawpaws.
Um, pawpaws grow on their own in my yard. I'm not sure that you would have, the purpose of native, it should be native to your specific area and generally do fine with the weather that it's given. But, if you want to give it a head start, probably won't hurt to do that stratification.
Yeah, so if you've had them in the fridge for the appropriate amount of time for the cold stratification, you should be able to plant them outside now. You could Start them in small containers just to see which ones are going to sprout, which ones aren't, to be able to take better care of them, like water-wise and everything else, and then transplant them. With pawpaws, don't pawpaws have very, very deep roots? So
Yes,
you're going to
they
need to transplant them
do. I have a
quickly.
story about that. I was trying to be lazier than Corey, and I had a pawpaw. Literally, it's growing through a palmetto bush. It's kind of hard to get to. It's beside a non-native Arizona cypress that was a Christmas tree of mine at one time, and then it's coming up through this palmetto bush. So years ago, I tried. I thought I pulled it out, dug it all the way out, and I tried to replant it. That was unsuccessful. So he's doing it the best way, using seeds and all of that. But the good news is I didn't kill it. It still comes up every year through that palmetto bush. And I'm like, if that's where you want to be, fine. You've chosen your place, So yeah, they have obviously very long taproots.
Yeah. Corey says they can easily have 6 to 7 foot taproots. Yeah, the older, more mature ones, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So probably trying to propagate them, he's doing it the correct way, other than I tried to do it by transplanting. It didn't work out. Luckily, didn't kill that because it has a man-sized taproot, but didn't work in the just transplanting it. So you need some pretty big pots too. Well, if you're only starting it from seed, once it outgrows the pot,
that's the kind of thing. I would start it in containers, and then very shortly after it sprouts, transplant it, because I'm sure it's going to be shooting down a root very, very quickly. So if anybody has any other questions, just feel free to jump right in. We have more pawpaw comments here. Sue asked, pawpaw, isn't that a real softwood nuisance tree? I spent several hours cutting suckers to the ground yesterday so I could rake leaves.
I wouldn't call it a nuisance. I don't think maybe in your yard they pop up a lot.
If it's in a lawn, anything popping up in a lawn, you could consider a nuisance. Oak tree sprouts are a nuisance in a lawn.
Sure. It is a softwood. It is a softwood, but you have to send us a picture of what you pulled up so we have a better idea, because there's so many things out there that it could be as well.
There is. It may be camphor trees popping up if your neighbors are growing them. So
it is very bendy kind of wood, though, the pawpaw is.
Yeah, well, yeah.
What is
and Sue asks,
what area in Florida, Sue? We can all grow basically the same kind of stuff, but...
Oh, she's up in Maryland right now trying to get her yard winterized.
Okay.
How far north do pawpaws grow?
I have no idea. Probably Corey knows. I don't think they grow that far north, but maybe, who knows? I've only really heard of them in, more of the southern regions.
Yeah, darn. And Teresa's on vacation this week also. Otherwise, she'd probably be popping up a University of Florida fact sheet.
Whoa. Well, I guess they can grow pretty far north.
Yeah, Corey says all the way up to Nova Scotia. So.
Okay. Our native pawpaws north to Georgia. That's what I was thinking. Georgia was the range.
Yeah.
Well, answer, Sue, about what vegetables thrive in Florida. Any of them, really.
Just about anything. Rutabagas don't do that well here. Brussels sprouts don't do that well here because it's rare that we have a long, consistently cold winter, and that's what you need for Brussels sprouts. Everything else grows just great here if you grow it at the correct time of year. So right now, you need to be growing all those cool season vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, radishes, carrots, beets, anything green and leafy, different types of lettuce, romaine, kale, spinach,
Can you grow
Swiss chard,
kohlrabi?
kohlrabi. Kohlrabi grows very well here, believe it or not. And that's more of people from up north are going to be a lot more familiar with that. But it can grow really well here in the winter if you plant it now. Matter of fact, I have seeds for it. I was going to try growing it, see how it does in my garden, but I need to get it in really soon.
I'm going to be on the lookout for, I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the stores. If I want a ginger, maybe a kohlrabi, perhaps even I'm looking for some kind of tuber because I'm going to a Christmas ugly sweater party, but the theme this year is Harry Potter. And I don't know, you're probably not that familiar with Harry Potter, but I decided the best character for me to be is Professor Sprout. And they have what they call screaming mandrakes. And they look like mandrakes. They look like tubers. But when they're babies, you can repot them, but you have to wear earmuffs because they'll knock you out screaming. And apparently the adult ones will kill you. So I'm looking for some kind of tuber that I can carry in a pot, and I'll attach some fake leaves or something to the top that I can turn into a screaming mandrake. So put a little.
Well, you can go to a store and buy ginger root and plant it, and it will sprout and grow. Same with turmeric.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get the actual root.
I need to buy this in a week or two. So I'm going to the store looking at the tubers already, which looks the best to be one of these screaming mandrakes. Well, Sue knows all about pawpaw too. Lewis and Clark survived on them.
Yes, Sue says West Virginia is loaded with pawpaw. I know it grows up and down the East Coast.
Yeah.
And it does get a tasty fruit that's underutilized. Other than that,
it's not the same, as the Florida native, like Corey said.
Yeah. And Lewis and Clark survived on pawpaw along the Columbia River. So we're learning all about pawpaw today together.
Do you know who funded their expedition?
Who?
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, okay. Well, that was smart.
See, learned that at Monticello.
So let me go up here a ways. Sue's asking about sacred bamboo. Is it metastasizing all over the place in Florida?
I'm going to use that word.
Not that I know of.
That is such a great word. I'm going to use that word for invasive plants now.
I know heavenly bamboo was not so much anymore, but it was a very commonly used landscape plant for new home construction. And I do believe that it is considered technically invasive.
Not just technically invasive. From what I hear, like from Audubon and other people with bird concerns, is that the berries are poisonous to birds. So my first thoughts were, birds aren't that stupid. They're not going to eat, something that poisons them. But somebody pointed out to me, why do I never remember the name of those birds that will devour an entire blueberry field?
Cedar waxwings.
And their voracious appetites, if they'll, find a bunch of Nandina, heavenly bamboo, and when they don't taste, they just devour. And so that amount of those berries become poisonous. And because they're, not native to here, I guess it hasn't gotten into their instinctual brainwaves yet. Don't eat that. So.
Yeah, and the berries are poisonous to dogs also. And once again, when birds eat berries and they go and poop in somebody else's yard, they have it coming up, and that's part of the reason why it's considered invasive.
Mm-hmm.
And Sue said that the landscaper planted heavenly bamboo when she asked for crepe myrtle. They are nowhere near the exact same. And Corey says he's got about a quarter acre of running bamboo. There are other types of bamboo. There's one, I have no idea what the name of it is. It's the one that they have huge amounts of up at Chinsegat Manor House on their property.
Mhm.
And I had that in my yard in Deltona before. And it's a very fast running bamboo. It will shoot roots underground and go 20 feet and pop up in the middle of your neighbor's backyard, bing, and shoot a branch up. It's really terrible. And once it's there, there's really no digging it up or totally getting rid of it. You're going to have to do a combination of cutting, spraying with herbicides, digging some up. It's a tough one to get under control. I know there at Chinsegat, they burned it and sprayed it, or maybe sprayed it and burned it. I'm not really sure exactly what they did.
Mm.
But it's not gone. It's coming back. So
that's the running bamboo. And everyone says the clumping bamboo is fine. Is that true?
yes, if it's a true clumping bamboo, it will spread, but very, very slowly. It'll take years for that clump to grow, to go a little bit. Running bamboo sends out roots underground that travel underground for a long ways and pop up, and they send them out in every direction. So running bamboo can fill an acre of lawn or pasture very quickly. Clumping bamboo is going to take anywhere from many years to never to spread that far.
Good. And
So
back to Sue's question about vegetable gardening, though, if you go online and look up Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide, that is a University of Florida publication. That's very helpful, and it has a chart that tells you what to plant what time of year. You can plant almost, not everything, like you said, not Brussels sprouts, there are just some things that aren't going to. Asparagus is really iffy too. Most of the same things, just a different timing. So, and not a whole lot of stuff in June through August. Not much at all. Unless you are into sweet potatoes, okra, what else?
There are a number of different tropical vegetables that people might not be as familiar with. Yucca, a lot of different Hispanic cuisine roots like yucca, malanga.
Yucca might make a nice screaming mandrake.
Yeah, they have that at every grocery store if you look for it. I like it. I'm going to try growing it this year. I've been told that it grows very, very well in just pure sandy soil. And it's like, great, I have plenty of that. I can find a corner and work it in and just ignore it. And if it, gives me a nice crop of yucca roots at the end of summer, that'd be just great. But Sue says she's also buying a cheesy plastic greenhouse shelter for tomatoes, etc., to fit over my mango. That works just great for a lot of those warm season things. You can start seeds in little pots and little containers very soon, but you need to make sure they don't freeze. So you need to either cover them, put them in a little greenhouse. It could be a very inexpensive one. It could be $1 million greenhouse, something in between. And keep them warm at night, make sure they don't freeze. But obviously, during really nice winter weather, get them out there in the sun, get those tomatoes and peppers up and growing and big and strong. So when March rolls around, you can put them in the ground and you're all set.
She's in Maryland, though.
She lives here in Florida. She must just be up there visiting.
All right, okay.
And she also transplanted curcumin to a whiskey barrel so it's not exposed to the yard chemicals. Yeah, you want to be very careful if you have a lawn service that's spraying. You just need to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to ask them what they sprayed. You have every right to know. And There's this little thing on your computer called Google, and whatever it is, you can look it up and read about it. Knowledge is power.
And who, gives them, who hands over their credit card or who writes the check? That makes you their boss. So you get to ask questions.
And Sue also says she finds coyote scat filled with berries, which she suspects are beauty berries, probably not other plants like heavenly bamboo. I don't know why these plant clinics always circle back to this topic.
Yeah,
We
it's
always,
pretty, yeah, we do have a lot of crappy subjects.
and that's fine. I am not going to examine it to determine whether they are beauty berries or some other kind of berries. But I know that Sue lives at least part of the year in Spring Hill, and we do have a lot of coyotes around Spring Hill, and they are they take advantage of anything. They'll eat berries, they'll eat lumber grasshoppers, they'll eat garbage, they'll eat out of your trash can, they'll eat stray cats, they eat rabbits, they eat darn near anything. I think maybe they.
I'm not sure. See, beautyberry, they might eat them, but even the birds leave them until they turn black and are pretty much beautyberry raisins, because so they have a higher sugar content as they dehydrate. Because beautyberries are edible, but they're just not that tasty. Now I don't know if a coyote cares or not. And a urban coyote, I wouldn't think would be hungry enough to eat something, that wasn't all that yummy to them, because they'll find your garbage.
Oh, they're surprisingly adaptable. They'll eat a wide variety of stuff. They'll eat candy wrappers, trash.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote an article on them, and I read about they looked at what they ate, and it was just darn. I mean, I don't think they eat soda cans, but anything short of soda cans, they'll eat, and that's why they're successful. Got a lot of them in Spring Hill. Do you have them in your neighborhood?
Oh yeah, oh. Definitely. You can hear them at night. Yip 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 yip. And I've got these little, snack size little dogs that they would just love. So I have to be real careful at night with them. The one, now that it's dark so early, I have this ancient little tiny dog, and she sundowns. As soon as it gets dark, she gets very nervous. And not only does she want to go to bed, she wants everyone to go to bed. Well, at 6:00, we're not all that willing to do that. So what I've been trying to get home in time to walk her and wear her out so that she's not pacing as much.
Yeah.
But when it gets dark so soon, I might go up and down the block with her, but I have a very tight, she's right at my feet. And I have a flashlight pointing at, all the wooded lots and even the yards and stuff around me. Because, I don't know when they could pop out, and I try to make a whole lot of noise and stuff. So that they don't come out and have an evening snack of her.
Yeah, I don't have to worry too much about our dog.
To me, no, you don't have to worry about your dogs at all.
And when we had all three, I think that they would dream at night of a coyote jumping over the fence, ending up in the backyard, because they would have worked as a little team to defeat the intruder. I would have had to, pay for stitches at the emergency vet clinic in the middle of the night, but they would have won.
Yeah. While we were gone in October, one of our neighbors texted us that a new neighbor, who I don't know who it was or what kind of knowledge he really has, but he claimed that there was bear scat in our neighborhood, which there is bear, we're at Cross 19, so we're not that far from the Chassahowitzka Wildlife Management Area.
Yeah.
But I still don't know, how accurate that was. But when we came back, it was near Halloween, and I was getting ready for a trunk or treat, and I ordered, the kind of air blow up dragon that was way bigger than I thought it would be to fit on top of my car. And my husband was testing it out for me. So he had this big red dragon on top of a little Jeep, Liberty. And he ran over to the neighbors and he knocked and he said, "Gary, it wasn't a bear. I've got it in my yard." And had him come over to see the giant dragon on my car. And he was dying laughing, and he had to go get his wife and repeat the same thing. And he got both of them, like, what in the heck does he have trapped in the yard? And showed them the dragon. So that was our fun with scat in our neighborhood.
You see, we just keep circling back to the same topic. So here, let's knock through a couple quick questions and comments here. Lee says that she had the running bamboo and it went across her lawn and took a long time to get rid of the runners. It's tough. It's going to involve diligence, digging. You can, if you have a lot of it, cut it at ground level and immediately spray it with concentrated herbicide. Even then, I don't know how well it goes down to the roots and the runners. It would help, but I'm not sure how effective even chemical control is for that.
Yeah. Just always gives you something to do.
And Sue says that she had chili peppers over winter and they thrived. Yeah, if you keep peppers are one of those, it's kind of between an annual and a perennial. Pepper plants can live for a couple years, but here in Central Florida, you have to make sure they don't burn up in the heat of summer or freeze in the dead of winter. So if you could do that, you can keep a hot pepper plant going for a number of years. Not guaranteed, but it happens. And going back to some of the different things that you can grow during the heat of summer here when there's not a whole lot growing. Corey, that's a good point. There are tropical spinaches, and these are green leafy vine plants where you can pick the leaves off of them and eat it like spinach. I've honestly never tried it, but I've heard that it's definitely not the same as spinach. In some instances, it's kind of an acquired taste. So you may want to try it before you fill your backyard with growing any one of these spinaches, because you may just not like the taste of it that much.
But we can grow the spinach we're used to in the winter? Is that?
Yes, traditional spinach like what you buy at the grocery store. And Corey is also growing yucca. And Sue says, can I plant sweet potatoes now? No, you want to wait till spring. And yucca, you want to wait until spring also. And late spring is fine, like April-ish.
Yeah, those are the things you're going to actually be growing out in the heat of summer. Tomatoes are not.
Yeah, and Lee grows both yucca and malanga is another tropical root crop. I've never tried it. I've heard it's good. But malanga is another one. And they are very, very low maintenance. Basically, you plant them and kind of forget it for most of the summer. They're going to grow just fine on their own. And Nancy grows pigeon peas. She's from Puerto Rico. That's another good choice. Pigeon peas are used a lot in Caribbean and South and Central American cuisine.
So you can grow them in the summer?
They take the heat. That's another summer growing crop.
He reminded me of black-eyed peas are the other one I wasn't remembering for the summer.
Yeah, black-eyed peas, because black-eyed peas are in the bean family, but it's technically not like other peas. It's a tropical plant. So tropical peas. And yeah, Corey says to plant those summer heat-loving things after March. And Corey's putting up a 16 by 32 greenhouse. That's great. Greenhouses can be a lot of fun. They can be very productive. They can be as expensive or inexpensive as you want.
I think Sue was asking if the coyotes howl. I've never heard them howl here. It's not like the picture of out west that, we've been shown, or Texas, where they're howling at the moon. Generally, you can go online, like for everything, and go on, and put in coyote sounds. And literally, it sounds like a pack of dogs yipping. That's what it, yip, 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 yip,
Yeah,
yip,
yeah.
Yip. Yeah. That's how they're communicating with each other. I'm not saying they don't howl. I haven't ever heard it, and it's just not as common here as we've been led to believe. You think coyotes howling, and that the lack of howling does not mean you don't have coyotes.
I think howling is probably more wolves way up north.
Well, but you look up and you like for West Texas or other places, they talk about the coyotes howling. I don't think that is a common part of their, what they do. At least not here. I've heard people say, this is on some of the neighborhood groups, of course, but that, and this may be something you would need to be concerned about. Don't, just because your dog is big as a coyote doesn't mean there isn't reason for concern. This particular neighbor said that she saw one coyote coming out like making play moves towards their puppy German Shepherd, bigger, but puppy German Shepherd, like, come play with me. And she could hear wrestling or whatever, that one dog was trying, the one coyote was trying to lure the dog into the woods where there was a pack of coyotes. So
yeah. Generally, we don't have a lot of problems here in Hernando County with them, but you always want to be careful with coyotes.
And there is, they're here to stay. They will not be eradicated. So we just need to live with them. Are they native to Florida? No. Nope. They kind of, I think, this is my anecdotal guess, they took up the niche when we got rid of all the wolves, probably.
Yeah, they partly spread here on their own. They did expand their range, and they were also brought here a long time ago for hunting preserves here in Florida, which didn't help.
Kind of like the wild hogs, once the Spanish brought the hogs for food, and then when they'd leave, they just left the hogs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that way when you come back this way, there's something to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, now that it's a couple hundred years later, they're, a big pain. But Sue asked about cannas, and are cannas invasive? Should I throw it away? It's always a giveaway up north. My mother-in-law blessed me with it. No, cannas are not invasive. They do spread. A few of them will, the size of the clump will spread over time, but you don't have to worry about them getting loose in a wild area or a preserve. No. They get a couple different insect problems, so they're not, you may plant them and they may be a pain to manage, but it's not invasive.
What's happening more and more up north, I've noticed, and my brother or my sister-in-law have been doing some of the same stuff. Maybe it's always been done up there, I don't know, but it seems to be trendy that they take these tropical plants and they plant them in their yard almost as annuals, in their yard in the summer. And then some of them will take the roots or whatever and like save it in their basements or something and put it out again for the summer. Or else they go buy new again. But they like to have the tropical look, and here it'll freeze back. Your cannas will freeze back, look brown and bleh. And then when we're not going to have any more freezes, you can cut it all back and it'll come back just as happy as can be, because we have not had a root killing freeze in 15 years, probably.
Yeah. Okay, knocking through some more questions and comments here. Corey suggests to plant the poop. It would have a potentially diversity of seeds in it, and that is how plants disperse themselves. That's why they make tasty fruit, so that they'll get eaten, and that animal will move the seeds far and wide and deposit them.
I would not recommend the use of coyote scat for composting, especially amongst edible crops. Because carnivorous or omnivorous scat can have many different types of pathogens and also attract unwanted, make it smelly and attract other unwanted visitors. So when we do our compost classes, like you're going to do this evening,
yes, we are.
We don't recommend anything except herbivore type of manure. Well, chicken, but there are very specific rules about it, which you cover that in the class.
Yeah, that's a whole separate subject, food safety and using manure in edible crops. But as Corey points out, some parks are gathering bear poop and planting it to improve native areas. Free seeds, that helps to save money, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And coyotes, yes, they do eat trash and stray cats.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to avoid both and secure both as best you can.
Keep the cat in the house, not in a trash can. But
yeah, cats belong in the house, not wander in the neighborhood. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
And Sue says she asked her lawn service about the MSDS, that's the material safety data sheet, about what they were spraying, and the guy said it was plant-based. Tell him you want to know the active ingredient of whatever it is. Maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't even know. Maybe he doesn't know what he's spraying on your yard.
But his boss does. His boss does. So, keep going. Go beyond him. Make a phone call to the office. So.
And, Corey says he has a friend in Arapika that gets bears around their yard. So they are over in that area.
Yeah, they kind of stay west of 19. I remember once you asked me why all the bear signs are up and down 19. And was there really a problem with bears crossing 19? In 2004, yes, there was. There was about 6 bears got hit on 19. So whatever was going on at that time precipitated all those bear signs. Kind of in between Citrus County and Hexham and North 19. So that is why those signs are there. But yeah, the bears are, I think last I heard, and this was years ago, there's about 300 bear. Don't worry. In the Ocala National Forest. Don't freak out. Okay.
There's a lot up there.
And about 30 in the Chassahowitzka Wildlife Management Area. And what is really cool is that the bears in Ocala, the reject males, the young ones who just, were chased out by the alpha males who just could not find a girlfriend. Somehow they know to go over to the Chaz. The problem is human, maybe even male bear interactions or human interactions between there and here often gets that poor young male in trouble before he makes it here. But I think to find himself a nice lady in the Chaz. But I think it is amazing to me that they know this, and then that helps with diversity with the small group that's in the Chassahowitzka National or State Wildlife Management Area, that they have some friends coming over from Ocala to meet women, therefore to preserve the diversity. The issue and the problem is him making it here. So, but sometimes he does, and so that helps preserve the diversity in our bear group here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get calls and questions about them, pictures of paw prints, what was in my yard. We've gotten panther paw prints. I know definitely one from out around your area. So they're out there.
Right. It wasn't a bobcat, because we do have bobcats.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a video of a bobcat. There's a lot of bobcats out there. They're all over.
Mm-hmm.
But the Florida panther, which is
and
larger,
what's happening
rarer.
is every morning we wake up and there's a new house somewhere near us.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to
I
change
the
things.
sound of construction, I'm pretty much immune to. It's like part of the neighborhood now. So, taking away all the natural areas to build more houses, we are seeing more wildlife because they're becoming more and more displaced and more visible and having more unfortunate interactions with humans.
And Sue points out she would suspect the microbiome of a coyote is not compatible with human health. You want to be very, very careful dealing with any kind of poop or excrement out in the wild. That's why when we're teaching composting, any kind of livestock or farm animal manure, all of it potentially has nasty bacteria in it. As a general rule, every bird out in the environment, chickens, pigeons, wild birds, whatever it might be, all their poo contains salmonella. You can almost bet money on it. So you have to be very careful. You want to wear gloves. You need to wash your hands and use the disinfectant stuff frequently, very frequently when handling chickens. You need to know what you're doing and be safe. Otherwise, you're going to get nasty sick. And Sue, that's very true. Some wild animals adapt very well to suburban environments.
Coyotes,
Raccoons
raccoons,
and coyotes, probably the two stars of being
adapting.
able to adapt to live in a city or around people.
And
I
for
saw an article or a show. Researchers in Chicago, downtown Chicago, actually put tracking devices on raccoons and tracked what they did at night. And they lived in downtown Chicago. And they had a regular little route they would follow up these streets, down these streets. They'd visit trash cans, they'd knock over your trash can, eat this. And they survived and thrived and did really well living in a large city.
You know what I think is evolving into, doing fine in urban environments are deer. I'm hearing more and more.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people I know who live in the city of Pittsburgh, and I follow some photographers and stuff there. There's deer all over the place in the middle of the city. As long as there's any kind of woods nearby and a yard, they're happy enough. Oh, cemeteries. They love cemetery. You can't go to a cemetery without running across deer.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, back in colonial times in the late 1700s, deer were definitely endangered. I don't know how close to extinct they were, but all along the eastern seaboard, because people at that point depended on them so much for food.
Right.
That was before Winn-Dixie and Publix,
Right.
and
Well, and we've taken away all of their predators. So we have
Yeah,
a abundance of deer. And in fact, in places, well, in the nation, but I don't think I know anybody up there who has not had a deer hit them. That's the way you have to say it for the insurance company. But
yeah, I know a few people here that have
and
had
around
that.
here for sure. But there's an overabundance, and I read once, I don't know if it is still so, that it is the second most likely, an animal that kills the most humans. Deer is number 2. Now, not on purpose, not by attacking them, but by causing car accidents. Number 1 is dogs.
Yeah, because if you hit a large deer, you can very, very easily total your vehicle. And a lot of people are, injured or killed from hitting deer.
Sure, yeah.
So you want to be very careful. Hitting bears is not a good thing either. So be careful out there.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any final last-minute questions you want to squeeze in there this week, let me go ahead and share our freestanding webpage with you, www.hernandoextension.com. If you go there, it has a full listing of all of our scheduled upcoming classes, mine and Lily's and ours and everybody's. We have so much going on. Some weeks I'm not even sure what's going on.
If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see yesterday's class. If you missed it, it's what could go wrong. One of the things that could go wrong is Bill had a different meeting, so he couldn't be there. But no, I think it went fine, and it's a generalized class. And in it, I tell you about upcoming classes Bill and I have scheduled that it'll get more specific about things that could go wrong in your landscape. And next December 8th, Bill won't be there for that one, but I will be doing the shady side of your landscape. So.
And next week, we will be back with another version of the virtual plant clinic, and we are supposed to have a guest next week.
She always says that.
No, she said she'll be here. As far as I know, she's still available. We are going to have Wendy Lynch, who is with University of Florida Extension. She's our district family and consumer science specialist.
Oh, so you get to talk about all those recipes and stuff.
Exactly. So for some reason, the conversation usually circles around to exchanging recipes and how to cook this and how to cook that. So save all that up for next week and go ahead and ask Wendy about that. And she could tell you what's healthy and nutritious for you, along with being tasty and good to eat. So I guess we're going to have like the cooking version next week, maybe.
Cool. And close to the holidays. That's a good plan.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2 weeks after that, we will not be having a virtual plant clinic, but I'll have more information on that next week because let me look at my calendar here. No, we got one next week, and then we have one the week after that.
I was going to say, I thought like the 16th we should have
December
one.
23rd, we're closed, so we're not going to be doing the plant clinic on the 23rd. And the 30th, we are closed also. Or we're not closed. I'm just off. So
I was going to say the 31st we're closed because the 1st is a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we have off the 23rd and the 24th because we always get Christmas Eve and Christmas is on a Saturday. So they give us those 2 days.
Yeah, so we're taking time off of work. I'm tired.
You tired? Oh, me too. Oh, remember we have
tired. I'm just wrapping up annual paperwork, and it's boring.
It's much more fun to do than to report what you've done. It's much more fun to actually do it. But remember tonight, 6 o'clock, we have another class for those who signed up for rain barrel and compost class. So from 6 to 7:30-ish, well, I will be working that time. Somebody does their compost part and then leaves, goes and eats supper or something while I stay and do the rain barrel portion.
And thank you very much for everybody for attending today and for many of you tuning in every week. It's really great. We really enjoy answering all of your questions. We're going to try even harder to bring more interesting and engaging guests on here next year.
What the heck am I?
You're my regular co-host.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I will try to be more interesting and engaging for you.
I'll check into if University of Florida has any kind of poo specialist that we could have on here, since it always kind of circles back to that.
I would like to see their title if they were.
I would too, yeah.
Biological, scientist or something. So they can honestly say they studied a bunch of in college.
Exactly. Okay, guys. Wow, look at that. It's exactly 11 a.m. So I guess it's about time to wrap it up here. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you back here again next Thursday at 10 a.m. Up. Here, Nancy has an idea.
Poo Pro. Poo Pro.
So
We will
I'll look
find-
for Poo Pro to come on next year.
You will find a Poo Pro.
Okay. Thanks again, everybody. You guys all have a great week, and we'll see you here again next week.
Bye-bye.